I'm going to be talking about the Repair Tools mod, version 1.10, a mod that adds a few useful utility items to the game. So let's get right to it. Alright, so this mod adds 6 utility items to the game that can be bought from general stores. The sewing kit, the whetstone, epoxy glue, jeweler's pliers, armorer's hammer, and charging powder, all of which repair a different type or category of item. The sewing kit repairs all clothing types, as well as any kind of leather armor, as well as leather shields, as well as brigandine, the armor, the leather type armor added by roleplay realism items, as well as the camping tent from Climates and Calories. The whetstone repairs any bladed or edged weapons, basically anything in the category of short blades, long blades, or axes. Epoxy glue repairs any blunt weapons as well as any bows, so any maces, warhammers, etc., short bows, long bows. Jeweler's pliers repair any chain type armor, such as chain armor, and any of the extra different types of chain materials of chain armor added by roleplay realism items. Armorer's hammer is used for any plate armor, such as basically anything that is in the base game of iron and up, essentially, as well as most types of shields that are not leather and chain, so basically every shield besides those two. And charging powder, which repairs any magically enchanted item. And magically enchanted includes any category of item that has been enchanted in some way. So even if it is an enchanted pair of leather boots, once it is enchanted, you can no longer use the sewing kit on it. You need to use something like charging powder to charge it. And by default, all of these repair tools are restricted to only repairing things that are of anything that is of a tier of iron up to adamantium. So anything that is ebony, orcish, or daedric can't be repaired by these tools by default, as well as magical artifacts like daedric artifacts. However, there is one setting currently that allows you to toggle that off, that allows you to repair anything no matter what its type is, no matter what its tier is. All of these repair tools can be bought from general stores, and they are randomly populated within that inventory, so there's no guarantee you will find any of these tools. You'll most likely find at least one, but there's no guarantee you will find all of them in one shop or anything, or even multiple shops. They do have a rarity attached to them, so sewing kit, the rarity is a scale of 1 to 20, which is how the shops have their quality assigned, which is a scale of 1 to 20, 1 being the lowest quality, 20 being the highest quality. But each tool has a different rarity. For the most part, you'll be able to find basically all of them. The lowest rarity one is the sewing kit. So you'll find the sewing kit no matter how crappy the store is. You'll find these everywhere. Then the other ones have a slightly higher rarity of, I think, 4 to maybe 6 for the armorer's hammer, which just means that you won't be able to find in the worst possible quality shops, which are surprisingly rare to find, anything but sewing kits. But for most of them, you'll be able to find sewing kits to armorer's hammer. Charging powder has a rarity of 11, which means you could only find it in somewhat more high quality shops. They also all have different properties, such as different weights, slightly different costs. Charging powder is very expensive compared to the rest. Each tool has a slightly different durability, so as you use them, they will get more used up, some slightly more than others. You can only repair items that have a durability of 80% of their maximum or lower. This is to keep blacksmiths and general store owners in business, so if you really want your sword to be like new or brand new, you have to bring it to them. And on that, you cannot repair items that are below 1%, or i.e. broken, like unusable. Once again, you'll have to bring a completely broken item that you cannot even use anymore to a blacksmith or a general store owner to repair it. These tools are meant to be a preventative measure, not a reactive measure in that way. The percentage repaired each use of the tool is different for each tool. The sewing kit will repair more than, say, the armorer's hammer or the epoxy glue. And the amount that is repaired each use gets slightly modified by your luck stat. You are unable to use these repair tools when there are enemies nearby, just like when you're unable to rest when there are enemies nearby. Using these tools takes time as well as energy. Whenever you use one of these tools to repair one of your items, the amount of time it takes per use will be different based on the tool, as well as an additional modifier based on your speed and your agility attributes. If using your armor hammer once takes 2 hours, if your speed or agility goes higher or lower, it might take 2.5 hours, or it might take 1 hour. So it's different for each character, as well as each tool used. Similarly to how much energy is used, you will actually lose some fatigue each time you use one of these tools, not just from the time used, but from the actual tool use itself. Using a sewing kit is much less strenuous than using an armorer's hammer. Using charging powder is much less strenuous than using epoxy glue. However, you will not be able to be knocked unconscious from these use. You will be too exhausted to use it, and it won't allow you to use it if you're that low on fatigue. There are some niche instances where some tools will repair more on different types of items. This is primarily apparent for charging powder, which will repair a item more percentage-wise based on what it is. The idea being that some items are more attract magical energies more than others. Like silver, dwarven, and adamantium items are especially potently attracted to magic, so they will be repaired more. Staves in general are more magically potent than others, and adamantium staves are the most potent, as well as various other items such as wands, daggers, something like mage robes. There's a few other items, but generally that kind of theme are especially effective when repaired with charging powder. Here are some of the items actually in use. Say the sewing kit. See all the items. Brigadine, toga, various cloth items, leather items. Then you will double click, get a little text pop up, lose some durability, and then you'll say look at casual pants again, and they were repaired a significant amount. Let's do Elven Brigadine once again. Repaired a significant amount. You can exit the menu by your exit key. Whetstone, Elven Broadsword, sharpen it. Goes up. Then once it goes over, once it gets to 80 or above percent, then it's taken off the list until it gets below that threshold again. Epoxy, bow, staff. And as you saw, I lost a lot of stamina, as well as the time increased quite a bit. So let's rest for a few hours to get that back up. Hello. So it is now 5 p.m. Let's use the armorer's hammer. Oops. Let's use the armorer's hammer once on this silver helm. Went up a few percent, and the time went by for about 30 minutes. Let's rest again. So it's 6:27 p.m. Let's use the armorer's hammer. Let's use the jeweler's pliers. Chain helm. Went up about 30 minutes, a little bit less, lost a little bit of fatigue. Epoxy glue again. Let's show what it's like when you get overly exhausted. Repairing all this stuff for hours on end. Well, that broke. I'm getting there. You're too exhausted to do that. And yeah, it basically won't let you go below 20 fatigue or so. But as you can see, you can spend quite a lot of in-game time repairing your stuff. Which can be a good thing, bad thing, I don't know. If you're trying to do a quest and you need to repair all your stuff, it might be a bad idea if you're limited on the time. But it'd be good if you want to pass some hours by, get something quote-unquote productive done without just loitering. Charging powder. Yeah, it even tells you can't repair completely broken stuff, even though it'll show it. But I got these 3 magic items. Toxic Cloud, repairs it. Now it is used. Repairs it. Charging powder is a fairly expensive repair tool, but obviously extremely potent, so it doesn't get too many uses from each one. But depending on the magic item, yeah, it can be very potent. And each time you use one of the repair tools, a different sound, custom sound, is played. In a moment, I'll just do a very short showcase of those sounds. But yeah, that is basically the entire mod. I think of a fairly simple mod once you understand what items are repaired by what, and I think it's fairly intuitive. I do have more plans that I wish to do with this, but for right now, I'm fairly happy with it in its current implementation. I think there can be more done with the entire repair system itself, but right now, I think this is helpful, especially with something like physical combat and armor overhaul, just because durability matters much more in that, generally. But yeah, that is repair tools. Version 1.10. You can find all these tools in general stores around the game, as usual. Thanks for watching, and I hope you enjoyed.